There we go. That's not too bad, eh? Haha. All right. So anyway, got my mic, got Derrick's deck list. Everything's going wonderful now. So, like I was saying, this is my first online tournament that I have done with a with real cards. I've done the OLS tournament many times. I've done the I did the first online GP, the OG one with Bargetzi. So familiar with playing online, but unfamiliar with doing it on a webcam. And I will say I was very intimidated. Maybe intimidated is not the right word, but knowing that if my opponent wasn't so cool, like I have to have my hand showing, I have to like be real deliberate with my movements to make sure I'm completely captured on camera. Like these are all things that like I don't care and I don't think about when I'm playing in person. And so having that in the back of my mind, I thought was really the only thing that I noticed significantly that I would feel hindered my progress in playing the game. But luckily all my opponents, you know, and luckily I was like real deep in the rankings, so I wasn't competing for anything, but all my opponents were very cool. We were very open and honest with each other, and I don't think in all 6 of my rounds, I don't think any of us thought either one of us was cheating. So like it was a very good tournament for me. I enjoyed it a lot. But so a little background on my deck for the viewers. I ended up 3-3, right in the middle of the pack. I have completely taken advantage of the market at this point and how easily the forcible cards are selling and how liquid the product is right now. And I have actually started dumping my own personal collection into the market. I believe it is a very good market right now to sell cards and to make money. So I am taking full advantage of it, and I've switched my position as a player since I don't have a locals, and I am no longer have any hopes of having a locals because I have a wife, 2 kids. I will never go build a locals at this point. Now I've switched to a player that in the event of big tournaments, I will go buy whatever deck I have to go buy. And I will just sell everything that I buy and go that route. So with that being said, this tournament originally being advertised as a 1K, I didn't really put too much into it. You know, max prize of 400, but for the most part, everybody splits when they get there, which I'll end up asking Derrick if they ended up splitting. But a split would have only got us like $187. The deck that I wanted to buy, the Magic Stones themselves are $80. So like, you're not making any money if I had to buy the deck I wanted to play. If I had to buy any of these decks, I was not going to make any money. So I decided to go with a budget build of My List Mushtart, no Magic Stone of 6 Sages, no, I didn't have Thunder 5 through 8. I didn't have the ability to get out of blue and red. I was very much in blue and red the whole time. No splashing of whites. So a very constrained build. But the shrines are commons. The Spirit Fountain or the Fountain of Trials hadn't sold yet, so I still own that. I ended up only having to buy a My List and a couple a couple Mirages, and so I had a functional deck at that point. And you know what? It did all right. It did all right. I almost lost the mirror, and I almost lost because of the 6 Sage Stone. Like, just trying to play My List Mushtart against My List Mushtart when they get more untaps than you, it's difficult.
Yeah, that sounds painful. Not to mention all, like, the excess burn that you just lose out on inherently by not having it, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, there was many turns where, like, I'm looking at my hand and I'm like, wow, Thunder just accidentally does, like, 9 damage for 1 right now, you know, like, that's pretty cool. And I'm, like, looking at my deck and I'm like, well, I guess that's where the other Thunders kind of come in, you know, that would be pretty cool. Because you could, like, theoretically on 2, you know, with a couple Shrines out there, you could really dump your hand. A couple Thunders and a couple Mushtart, or the Magic of Trust and Loves, and you got it. With a couple Shrines out there. Very cheap and very effective, so. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, but I did not perform. Did not perform at all. So, Steven, what's your story, baby? I didn't see you at the tops of the.
Oh yeah, because I went 1-2 drop.
So, backstory, Steven, you have your paid invite, correct?
I have a paid invite, yes.
When did you get your paid invite? You had an unpaid coming out of Worlds 2019,
Yeah.
right?
I got my paid. Was it the Collinsville one?
It was
back in
Collinsville.
It was
2020. Was like what,
Never
June?
forgetting.
Yes.
How upsetting
Uh-huh.
that was.
I bet that was a real awkward tournament.
No, it was alright.
No,
Oh, yeah?
tournament.
Good.
I give him crap about it, but it was fine.
Hey, you beat me in what, Pennsylvania?
That's true, I did.
White, Black, Brunhild.
Yep.
You're playing
Yep.
Lucifer. Like,
That was when Joey was there too, right? Yeah, I think
Correct.
that was
Yeah, he was
another
on-
tournament. We put 3 Brogues
Derrick?
in the top.
He was
2018 was a real big year for Brogues Guild.
Was it 2018?
It had to have
Yeah.
been.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it was 2019. It was 2019.
Okay.
It had to have been 2019, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be honest, all the years are blending together right now. So
They really are. They really are. But yeah, so you got your paid invite in Collinsville last year. You upgraded your unpaid to a paid.
Correct.
And then Derrick, you had your unpaid at the same event?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I took third in that one.
And so you're still just carrying an unpaid, right?
That is correct.
All right. So anyway, continue, Steven.
Yeah, I decided to play Celesta. It was a bad idea because you can't compete with 6 Ages with slower decks.
So Celesta was the deck that you had built for the last G&G event, right?
Yeah, and pretty much this was almost identical except for sideboard and 2 stones. Because there's nothing in Saga 2 that helps Saga 1 cards.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time trying
Yeah.
anything to make Celesta competitive, because I mean the engine is good. Celesta's engine is fun, and but yeah, it just
You have to get to turns 4, 5, and later. You need more mana, more cards to do things. With Grubalessa feasting, Grubalessa Almaris are just killing you on turn 3 with Reyes, Sigurds, Magic Research if you're not interacting with them.
So what was your win, and then what were your 2 losses?
2 losses were Gru's Feasting and Gru's Almaris. The only win was Ragnarok. We did a 50-minute game 1.
Yeah, I saw that 1-0. I remember that. It came across the thing. It was like Steven wins 1-0.
It was fun. It was the best game.
Jeez.
It's like he's doing his things, I'm doing my things. It was great.
I get to forget the world.
Yeah.
Forget about 6 stages. Think about a time that could.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both. Rounds 1 and 2, I'd never hit my opponent, or rounds 1 and 3. They stayed at 40 and 70 respectively.
I'm sorry, buddy.
It's-
My first 3 rounds were interesting too, because like I had a game 1 against an Almarius, and I was able to get it squeaked out kind of by the way I designed it. You know, game 1 I was hoping to get Mirage beat down, and I did. And then game 2 siding into the Caduceus combo with only 4 heat rays and praying you hit a heat ray on 1. So we ended up working there. But then round 2 I ended up against another feasting Almarius, but this time it was Logan, and he clapped my cheeks. I snuck game 2 on him because he got greedy on a play line, and I ended up cracking him with the combo. But then round 3, and I think this is the point in the tournament when I was like, yep, I had no chance ever. I got paired against the only matchstick deck that was in the tournament.
Way to get baptized.
And I did. So I'd never done the math. I knew the existence of the deck. I had never taken it seriously because I know how vulnerable it is. And so I just kind of taken statistics and was just like, all right, odds are you're going to dodge this thing. But watching this thing, just you lose on 2 without interaction. And my budget deck had no interaction at all. I was like, oh my goodness. Even siding into the Ouroboros, even to maybe reset my life to 20, or something. I couldn't get around it. I could not get around the lethal. It was like, this is silly, absolutely silly. And at that point, I was like, it was like 10 minutes into the round. I had already lost. They announced that there were going to be a half an hour break. The rounds were already going an hour and a half. And so I literally left my computer for almost 2 hours before round 4 started. And I was just like, I'm hanging out with the family. We had dinner. And everyone's like, oh, you're still in that tournament? And I'm like, yeah, but like, no, I kind of already am done.
Yeah, I don't know the reason why we took a 30-minute break. We don't even get those half the time in normal GPs.
Well, they seem to be Games and Geek exclusive. And I don't know why. I feel like the last in-person tournament that was the in-person GP that was done, they did a break.
Yeah, they did.
And so maybe that's just bless their hearts for trying, but I personally don't agree. And that's, I don't know, that's my dirty red player mindset of like, look, if you want to play a control deck, then you don't get to eat food, okay? I like food, all right? I'm going to burn and combo you, and then I'm going to go hang out with my friends, and I'm going to eat some food and go to the bathroom and be comfortable in my physical body. You want to push your body for 9 hours, go right ahead, buddy. No breaks for you.
No food for control players.
No food for control players.
You're already playing such a greedy deck. You don't get to be greedy and eat food too. None of that.
Yep. So,
that's good.
Derrick, you seem to be, you and Cal was kind of up there with you till the very end. He ended up 4-2. You guys playing the exact same build?
I believe so, unless Cal tweaked something last minute. He had messaged me late, I think the night before, basically asked me what I was playing. I just sent him my list. So yeah, I think we should be on the same thing. I forgot to ask what he lost to in the early game or in the early rounds. But I know that his last loss was to Burn, which by the way, thank you for testing with me, Josh, because honestly, I didn't give a lick of respect to Burn until I played against you, and then I immediately put in 5 cards to help with that matchup. So,
good.
But yeah, I don't know if that's what Cal lost to in the early game, if he lost to a Burn deck in the early games, and then last game on stream, at least I think it was the last game on stream, he lost to, or no, it's a round.
I think it was last round, right? Because it was against Roderick, right?
It was against Roderick. I don't remember if that was the last round or not.
Ooh, so yeah, Roderick definitely.
Yeah, and yeah, so game 1, for game 1 for this deck, it's tough, doable but tough. Games 2 and 3, with the 4 parry and siding into Elmarius, you take up the Feathsing for your Elmarius.
Mm-hmm.
It helps a lot more.
Wait. Time out. Yeah. So the Feathsing did get taken out for the Elmarius, and we left in the Mujdart for the
Yes.
filtering, and we just perfect. And it worked. It worked.
Yes.
Because we talked about it.
I only got to do it once, so
Okay.
like, did it work? I mean, in that game, kinda, sorta.
All right.
There's a funny story about game 2 when I play against the Burn player that I'll probably share later. But I mean, game 3, it got me there. I was able to just set up you definitely notice your hands not being as pristine as they would be if you were playing Featsing. But since you're kind of stalling anyways, for the first couple of turns, it just worked out. And then not to mention having those 4 parries. And then the other added benefit of switching into Almarius is you can see that I'm running 1 Ataractus Memoria, so that turns into a white bluestone.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I have more ways to cast parry other than my Genesis and the 4 Sage Stones and the Gusting Skies.
Perfect.
So, yeah, it all.
I'm
came
glad.
together
I'm
for
glad it
that
worked
one.
because that was only audio, no physical practice put into that theory.
Yeah, it was just I played against Burn and I was like, oh, I'm just dead. What if I do this? Oh, I'm just dead. How about this? Oh, I'm just dead. All right, we need to fix something here. Hold on.
So your tournament was 6 for the most part flawless rounds and then a flawless run in top, right? You ended up 5-0-1 and then 3-0 in top. So didn't lose. Tell me about it.
All right, so game 1. No, spoiler alert, no, Logan, I never got to play Hades against anybody. I actually didn't even side that in. I'll get to that.
That's
I'll
a
get to my
shame.
sideboard. Yeah, it was a cute little thing, but I'll explain that one. I'll explain the sideboard a bit later. But round 1, I was playing against Celesta. That one is generally favored matchup for you. As Steven had touched a bit upon, like, you don't have a lot of interaction that you can do against this deck, so you're kind of just letting me do whatever I want to. Like, you can have Parasol, but I'll have like the Welser and the First Year's Journey to counteract that. So I was able to win against my opponent 2-0 in that round. Round 2 is when I faced the Moodstart Mylist Burn. And oh boy, was game 1 a doozy. So I ended up going first. I'd set up, I hit my Genesis, did my stuff, pass turn. My opponent then proceeded to do what I can only imagine was one of like the most nutty hands I've ever seen that deck have. So he naturally hits the 6 Sage Stone. So in response to its enter, he taps his Mylist to play the Magic of Trust and Love to shoot me for 7. So before he called the stone, he had played Shrine of the Dragonoids using the red.
Perfect. All right.
And then he had hit the stone. Then he tapped the Shrine in response. Shot me for 9.
Okay.
Drew a card. Recovered Mylist. Looked at his hand a little bit. He's like, whatever. Shoots me again for 9. Draws a card. Plays the spell that lets you search for 2 spirits and recover a ruler. He added
fun
Mirage,
fact,
and
that was in my original build, and I had no idea that thing recovered ruler.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't either. And then I was just like, oh, okay. And then he proceeded to play a 3rd Magic of Trust and Love. And so I'm just sitting there, casually just took 27 damage.
Yeah, 27 damage on one.
Okay.
And he hasn't paid any real will for it.
And he had, So he played the 1 Void just so he could cast the spell to add the 2 spirits.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I'm probably just dead next turn. I'll just play this Margiana and pass. Hope that I don't die. Or actually, no, I didn't even play Morgiana. I just played Mirage because I wanted to just like see if I could draw anything. I kind of just assumed I was gonna lose that game. So I played Mirage, drew a bunch, played a Lycion, and I was just like, all right, pass. If you can kill me, you can kill me. So he went basically full balls to the wall. He tried to play the 2-drop Spirit, the red one, but I welded that back to his hand, and then I was like, all right, I'm tapped out. See what you got. He got me to 1 life, and he was completely tapped out. And I was just like, oh boy, we got a chance. So I drew my card, drew a bunch more cards, got to 41 power on my Mirage, and swung for 41. Woo! It was a steal, to say the least. Game 2 is when I was able to side into my Almerius. Unfortunately, in that game, I did make a misplay. My hand was kind of cluttered with Lycions. However, there was a turn where I had the opportunity to play 3 spells, but I shipped the wrong card to the bottom of my deck. I shipped a Bewildering Charm, thinking that I could cast a Ferocious Journey with my Energize, but since I had switched to Almerius, I no longer had green Energize. So I shipped the Bewildering Charm, looked down, and I was like, I cannot cast any more spells. I have 2 Lycions in hand. Pass turn. And then I drew into a 3rd Lycion, played 2 spells, couldn't cast the 3rd, and I was like, all right, pass turn. And then he ended up getting me there.
So
but then
you
game
scraped game 1 and then lost game 2. Oh boy.
Yep. Yeah.
Your whole tournament.
So that was spooky. But then game 3, it was business as usual. We had the Mirage, we had the 4C, we had the Morgiana, and we were able to just do our normal thing.
So at that point, though, game 2, he shot you from 70.
I mean, yeah, this is over the course of a couple turns.
Yeah, I just.
But yeah, I was doing nothing. Like the turns that I was trying to set up the Lycion. I think my hands were 2 Lycion. I want to say an Ouroboros and maybe a Welser.
Yeah.
So like it was just like not ideal hands. And I was hoping that the having the Lycions on board, if I was to draw into 4Cs, I could just use those to draw some more cards, and then I could hopefully from there scoped into like a Mirage plus 4C with the Morgiana that I had, and then continue from there.
Yeah.
But alas, we shipped the wrong card at the bottom. The rest of the tournament was not as exciting as that one, if I should say. But so after that, round 3 was Grozbust of Feasting. That one is just you gotta play patiently, try to bait out their Welsers so that you can have First Year's Journey plus Welser on your turn when you're trying to go off. And that's what happened. Round 4 was Grozbust to Almerius. Similar thing happened there. Round 5, kind of tired. Just decided to draw, go eat some more food. Then there was a break. Then round 6 was against David Smith, who was on Feasting Almerius. So he's actually a local. So he's played this deck numerous times, unfortunately for him. So he's definitely not a fan of the deck.
Well, it's interesting that like your whole locals decided not to go this route, even though they've seen this deck and this. One of the things I'll actually ask you to kind of highlight is what's different about this build versus the one you won with like literally 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, none of them went with this. Nobody, like you provided them all with the good news of Mirage, and they all decided to shun you and go with the Demon Lord of Sigurd, and they all got punished for it.
So I will say that this deck is definitely not for everybody. There's a little bit of patience involved. There's a lot of patience involved. And there's a lot of like waiting. Like patience waiting, saying the same thing. But I think it's not that they didn't care for the list. They all have their own play style that they just like kind of like wanted to test their mettle against like the format in this GP.
Well, they
and
did
so
very
I think
well.
that was I think that's mainly what they wanted to do.
From a financial perspective, actually looking at your deck, I think it is cheaper than a traditional black 1-drop lab good stuff deck.
I would say
I think
probably.
So. No
Genesis and the Mirages might have shot up a bit.
The Welsers. The Welsers
will be the most expensive part, I think.
Yeah, Welsers and 6 Ages is probably the most expensive. I think Mirage is like $3 or $4. I think.
No, that's why it was in my budget deck. It was only like a couple $1 card.
Oh, never mind then. So then I think Genesis would be like the only other, quote unquote, higher up their card.
There you go.
And then the 6 Age Stones. But yeah, what changed from the original list would be so like the first variant that I ever made with this list, it all started back when the Lycion and the Mirage was unveiled with Celesta. And I had talked with another local friend of mine, Paul, as well as Charlie, who was judging the event, about like how we can try to make it work. But with Celesta, it wasn't quite there. So I shelved it. Then we got Feasting Mujdart, and I was just like, I wonder if I can revisit this. So I revisited it a little bit, and I was like, we can. And so the first iteration of it was playing Magical Dragon. So there was actually no Ouroboros combo like in sight whatsoever. The original game plan was I'm going to play 4 dragons. I'm going to play all Mirage and 4C, not even Morgiana, actually, at the time. You were just going to kind of luck stack your way into drawing all your stuff. And then you would slam down 4 magical dragons, get 4 stones,
Mm-hmm.
Pass to your opponent. Before they drew, you would use a Lycion to cast Dance in the Spirits so that they couldn't play anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd go to your turn, recover 6x stones, and just be like, all right, I have all this damage in the air. You probably don't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm going to kill you.
It's really interesting. So, like this, leaning heavily on the Ouroboros combo, then actually freed up more of your deck for consistency.
Yep. Yeah. And so from the original list, I tweaked it a little bit for the last G&G event. And I talked with Steven and some other Rogues members a little bit. And I had jokingly mentioned, what if I just added like Ouroboros and Resistance?
I remember that
And then
conversation.
I thought about it, and we were just like, wait, is that actually fine? And I was
Dumb
just like,
idea.
no, it can't be. Screw it, I'll add it anyways, see what happens.
And it was a one of last time, right?
It was the one of one Resistance, one Ouroboros.
Yeah,
And
one.
literally every game, it literally. Oh well, the one Resistance, one Ouroboros, and the one Priestess Call to Action.
Mhm.
And nearly every game, I'll say nearly every game, that's what won me the game.
I mean, the power of
And
Morgiana,
so-
right?
Yeah, like it was nuts.
Well, it's kind of interesting having this aspect in it as the other way, like frees up Morgiana to be able to, like, Morgiana almost counteracts Mirage in the sense that Mirage doesn't get any counters if Morgiana's on the field. So you get your perfect hands, but you don't get your big Mirage, right?
Right. Yep.
And so having this as your win con is actually very interesting, you know?
Yeah. Yep. So, like Morgiana, the addition of Morgiana made Mirage go from one of your win cons, like bashing your opponent with this
Mhm.
big Mirage, to Mirage being just a make 7 cards in your deck become Pot of Greed.
Yeah.
And so with that, and then like playing in the last event, the G&G event, I came to like the conclusion that, you know, the Magical Dragons were great, but if I just played more copies of Ouroboros, Resistance, and Princess Call to Action and just made that more consistent, because the number one thing that I absolutely hated was being close to the combo and then seeing that I was like running out of draw or something, or I needed this other combo piece, and then it being in the top 3 cards, and knowing that, well, if I grab one of these, the other one goes to the bottom, and I have to literally dig through my entire deck to get back to it, which was possible, but it just like made it more complicated, I guess.
Yeah.
There's additional steps. Like after like thinking back on that feeling, I was just like, all right, let's just cut these dragons, and then just add more pieces, because like honestly, you don't really need more than 2 of each. Like if you draw into one, great, keep it in your hand. Then you draw into the second one, the second copy of it, put it to the bottom. That simple. And then you don't have to worry about the times where you're just like, oh, now I put it at the bottom, I have to dig all the way back again, yada yada yada.
So you only had to play the one My List.
Yep, just the one.
Wow. So like no other, not even like a My List Feasting combo.
Nope.
Nothing.
None of that.
Wow. That went very well for you.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that is actually a good point, Paul. So before this, in the last event, I was playing 3 optical camouflage before I was playing the 3 bewildering charm. And then there was actually a newer player that had just asked, like, what about bewildering charm? And then I thought about it some more. I was like, oh, it's a mage art. It's in blue, and it can sometimes draw a card. And then, like, after like the sudden realization, it was just like, oh, this is just like infinitely better. So the cute thing with optical camouflage, as many of you know, is that you can tap Feasting to produce a colorless will, and then you can use that colorless will to return one of your opponent's cards to their hand.
Or, cheeky fun fact that I learned from all the Minnesota players, you start returning your own stuff on Inner, like Welsers. Or what didn't happen, but I will be experimenting with now, is like flashing in a Nidhogg off resistance and then optical camoing it back to my hand.
That is also an option.
That might be fun.
That is absolutely true. So the biggest reason why I decided to go with Bewildering Charm was one, it draws a card. So it was just another one of those cards that could be, I draw into it, I don't need to bounce anything, but I have the will to cast it, and I don't really have what I need. I'll use it to draw a card instead. Oh, look, we drew into the 4C, let's go off. And then it being a mage art, so I can just cast it off Genesis, just made it like 1,000 times more valuable. And yeah, that was like the biggest reason why I decided to go with Bewildering Charm over Optical Camouflage. Oh, and additionally, with the removal of Wise Dragon, there was no longer those cheeky opportunities to cast a Wise Dragon. Magical Dragon, excuse me.
Got it.
There was no longer that cheeky opportunity to play a Magical Dragon, get a 6 Sage Stone, and then recover my Feasting. So removing the Magical Dragons made me decide that, all right, I'm tapping Feasting 9 times out of 10 anyways, so let's just go with the Bewildering.
Never really going to recover it because you'd rather like hit a 6 Sage Stone and do the Moosh Dart.
Cycle. Yep, exactly. Okay. And then there's also the added benefit of Magic and Trust and Love, which was another last minute addition that was so house that I can't even begin to sing the praises of this card.
Yeah.
So there was a number of times actually where it never came up, so I had never considered it. What if my opponent just has a J ruler? Like, I can't bounce that. So like, what happens then? And so it actually came up twice during the GP, where it was just like, oh shoot, I can't get rid of this. And then I like read the Magic of Trust and Love and was like, this hits J's?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, we got our new game plan. Now we just have to find Magic of Trust and Love. So yeah, Feasting has the Magic 7 defense, so you just shoot her once, she's out of the way. Marius unfortunately has 8, so you need both of them. But yeah, that came up once. So, but definitely glad that I added this card into the deck.
So explain a little bit about Genesis. Like, I've thought about Genesis in the function of that it's just kind of could eat Asuya. Like when you're trying to like early game, trying to get some stuff out there, like an Asuya would try to come down and mess some stuff up. But like, what's its big function in your deck outside of like ramping you into some counterplays?
That's actually that's literally
it.
It's just wrapping into counterplays. So
like you just draw enough cards that like you're gonna have to discard anyway. So playing a Regalia that comes in tapped is fine.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's more of the sense that in this meta where 1 mana can stunt your plays a lot, Welser, having that extra 1 mana to say no to their 1 mana play was just phenomenal. And so what I'm referring to is, so you play Genesis on 1, it recovers on your turn, and then now you have the mana to play Farisia's Journey. So now when when you have 1 mana and I try to play my 2 mana card, so the combo usually goes off on turn 3. So I usually will play it on turn 3 for 2 mana. I'll have my 1 mana up for a Welser, and then I'll have the Genesis up for a Farisia's Journey. So now if you saved your 1 mana for a Welser, well, I now can Farisia's Journey with using Genesis and still have an open will to do whatever I need to use it with. And so it was very, very valuable. And also like the fact that, if they play Asuya and you have a Morgiana on board, it's like, all right, well, you can just take my 0 mana Genesis, you gain no counters, and now my Morgiana's still alive, and then I can combo you next turn. So
perfect. Perfect. I like it. It's very consistent. You want to talk about the sideboard at all, or do you want to go into top 8?
I could talk about the sideboard quickly. It's pretty straightforward. The 5 cards, 7 cards, I guess, that were like the most important were the 4 Parry and 1 Almerius. Even though I didn't play that many burn, that matchup is just so horrendous in my opinion that it was absolutely necessary. And if you told me that one person was going to bring burn to this tournament, I would probably still side this. Honestly, like your deck is so consistent that you don't technically need to side. It's just like might as well just have for your worst matchup.
Just give anybody else some perspective that hasn't done a lot of tournaments. Like starting out 2-0, 3-0, 4, like it's pretty essential to stay in that win column. Taking an early loss in especially in like round 2 really puts you in the thick of like anything goesville, and then you could get matchsticked. But I mean, Derrick doesn't care about matchstick. But like,
I respected that deck, and I couldn't tell.
I've talked about the tier 2 cloud quite a bit, and so like you don't want to suffer a loss that early, because then like your pairings for the rest of the tournament, your opponent's win percentage is just always going to be less than if you had kept winning early. So like oftentimes a player like if a player goes X11. But if they took their loss earlier, the X11 that took their loss later will have a better opponent's win percentage. And so it's interesting, these 5 cards, got you 2-0 instead of, that 1-1 start that seemed like Steven and I were stuck with.
Those 5 cards, definitely you have to have them in your sideboard if you're playing this deck. The rest of the sideboard, honestly, the other important card that you must play is the Magic of Trust and Love. You must play 4 between your main and side.
Really?
The reason why, there is a card out there that exists called Academy Guard. That card says you do not get to play the game if you are playing this deck. And you need to remove that card. And when I say remove, I do not mean bounce. I mean remove that card. And so this was like the biggest thing that I had come to realize. What the biggest weakness that I had come to realize in the Games and Geek tournament. Well, even before that, I knew the card existed. I knew it was a problem. But you like trying to figure out like the most efficient way to remove that card. So originally I was playing Parasol. Then I don't remember how I came across this card, but then I saw this card, and then I was like, wait. Paying 0 mana to kill it sounds a lot better than paying 1 mana to kill it.
Sign me up.
So so we definitely added this card, and with the like added benefit of just like sometimes, as I had mentioned with Bewildering Charm, it also has the option to just draw a card, so it's not going to be dead in my hand. And so like if you ever want to play this deck, your absolute must-haves for sideboard is 1 Almerius, 4 Parry. And then between main and side for Magic of Trust and Love. The rest, you can do whatever you want with. So the idea behind the Nidhogg's and the extra resistance was this was also for the bird matchup. It was a way to remove more burn from their hand on their turn, while also giving myself barrier from like the Mylest pings in the thunders. And it was also, if I ended up playing it, it would also be what I use in the mirror, so that when they tried to, assuming the game got to this point somehow, if they tried to Ouroboros me or cast resistance, I would then, in response to resistance, cast my resistance, put in play Nidhogg. I can't be targeted, so then you have to set your life to 2,000. And so like that was the cheeky idea behind it. Plus, it removes 2 cards from their hand. Like that's just everything you want to do. Hades. That was that was a funny tech for the decks that were playing Institute.
Magic Research Institute.
If I didn't have the Dispelling Stones to remove it, maybe I drew into this Hades that I can put in play and just neg their board. Funnily enough, I think there was only been 2. I think there was only maybe 3 times in the entirety of the tournament that a research institute actually resolved against me. I want to say 3.
That's impressive.
And so, looking back on it, I don't think I'd side the Hades. It was a cute, funny thing, but
yeah,
definitely wasn't necessary. Morning Angel, Almerius Judgments into Final Stance. You don't want them to take extra turns. Beside this card, it's just good.
Yeah.
And then Dispelling Stone, Research Institute is a card. And playing the mirrors. Lycion is a card. You want to get rid of him. It also draws a card. So
Dragon Shrine's a card.
Dragon Shrine's a card. But so like that's one of those weirder ones though. I don't know if like in the more aggressive matchups, like I don't know if I really I did side this card, by the way. And I looking back on it, I don't know how much I enjoyed having that other having this Dispelling Stone in hand over just like any of my other cards, either to fuel my combo or to wells or something back to hand. I don't know. So this is something that I still have to think about if
Yeah.
I decide that in versus bird matchup. But
Okay.
yeah.
Give me a rundown on your top 8 because we're cutting into Jeremy's stream at this point.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you got to
So
top 8. You woke up, you had breakfast, and then
yeah. So top 8 was playing against Daniel, who was on Grozel Marius. Game 1 was a fairly standard. I had my nut opener. I played my cards. He tried to do something. I responded, and then I had the combo. Game 2 was a huge struggle, and I actually lost this one because I had kept the wrong. I would say I kept the wrong cards in my opener, and I just kept drawing into Welsers. I didn't draw into enough enough draw cards, and then eventually I just like sputtered out. And then I think Cal had mentioned that there was like 8 minutes left in the round, and then I still kept going, and I was like, you know what, I can't actually get there, so I just scooped it up.
really
Had 4 minutes to play game 3.
All right.
I went second, and I did my thing, and I won with like a minute left. That's how that went. And hey, thank you,
Jalen,
appreciate it.
thank you for the gift subs,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Much appreciated, man.
Thanks for
appreciate
stopping
it.
in.
Yeah, so yeah, when it ended up winning game 3 with like a minute left. Top 4 was against Sam. So game 1, I think he honestly should have won. He should have won game 1. There was like turn 2, he tried to play an Exorcist Mage, and I welded it back to hand. And I think he just had a lapse in judgment because like the Exorcist Mage wasn't on field, so maybe he thought it got destroyed or something else, or he just thought it wasn't in hand. So he went to play a Magic Research Institute, and then he was thinking about what stone he wanted to tap, but he didn't leave up a stone that could tap for white. And so I was just like, I was thinking he might have had Welser, but in his deck list, he actually didn't have it. He wasn't playing it. So I just went for the Welser, like thinking like maybe he had some other sort of play that I just wasn't thinking about. But unfortunately, he actually didn't have that play. So that was just an unfortunate lapse on his part. I think he definitely he could have had that one for sure. But then yeah, so I ended up taking that game. And then game 2. I actually don't remember what happened game 2. If I'm being completely honest. I think it was kind of just a blur. But I think I ended up getting that one. I think that was the one that was just like a complete and total struggle to like find the right cards. And then because he had ended up judgmenting Featsing at one point to stop my Mirage from swinging in, because I hadn't found Morgiana. I had just played a Mirage and started using it to like just draw cards and get big. And then there was one turn had like 22 counters on it. He's just Judgment Feasting to counter my resistance that I was going to use to look at the top 2 cards and prevent damage on my Mirage. And so I just did nothing on that turn. I left up Feasting so I could Judgment if needed to. He goes to his turn. He Judgments his Gruz Ballista. He tried to play Magic Stone Golem. I countered that, prevented damage of Araya. That didn't particularly matter. So at this point, about to go into my turn, I had 2 Precious Call to Action, and I drew into something. I think I drew into Mirage, or not Mirage, Morgiana. And so I used one of my call to actions to give one of my Welsers swiftness, because I had at some point gotten Welsers on board.
Okay.
And precision, and then I attempted to attack into his Exorcist Mage. And he let that resolve. And so from there, I was just like, all right, so now I can probably just do. I did have a removal spell for it anyways, but so this like saved me that extra card. So from here, I was like, all right, I think if I let this go back to him, I'm just not winning. So I think I'm just gonna go for it. So I exhausted every possible draw card I could, because at this point I had only seen like 1 or 2 4Cs, and then like the one Mirage that was on board. So me not like actually having another 4C seemed weird, and so I was like, all right, I'm probably gonna draw into a lot more of them. So I played the Morgiana, tried to exhaust every single draw card I could, and then finally I drew into a 4C, which drew into more, and then from there the game was kind of history. So I swung in with my big Mirage that was going to be lethal. He had to block with his Gruz Ballista that had Eternal, but then I put in play Ouroboros, gave it swiftness, swung, bounced the blocker, and that was that.
Nice.
And then for finals, it was kind of I would say it was kind of a cut and dry. I have combo, I have interaction for your interaction type of thing. So yeah.
So pretty sealed up. Perfect. Yep. So it sounds like Sam gave you a nice run.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think if it wasn't for that unfortunate misplay in game 1, game 2 would have definitely been interesting, and then we probably would have gone to a, I don't know if that'd be sudden death or what would have happened in game 3, but it definitely would have been interesting.
That's a crazy move though, scooping 4 minutes left and pushing that third game there. That's TCG IQ right there. So well done, baby. Well done.
Indeed, good job.
All right, my friends. So I promised Jeremy I would try not to get too much into his stream, and I'm probably already 15 minutes into his. So I will just finish this up here real quick with a big congratulations to Derrick. Thank you very much for coming out and talking about your deck. Thank you very much for being on the Rogues Guild. Thank you for helping all your fellow rogues, steel sharpens steel, become better players ourselves. It's an honor having you on our team. It's an honor learning from you. Steven, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Thank you for everything that you do for our team. I know it was kind of the three of us there in that last week leading up to this event. So, I'm glad it felt good. Felt good to have something to play for. And I think that's something that the Rogues Guild's been missing for the last year or so, maybe. Not having competitive events has been very. Anybody in our Discord knows it's been quiet. It's been quiet. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you for everybody that stopped out tonight and talked with us. Thank you for supporting the Rogues Guild. Thank you for taking an interest in the things that we take an interest in. We have no problems talking competitive Force of Will. We love competitive trading cards, and we don't need to keep all that knowledge to ourselves. We want to build other competitive players, and seeing the product that is coming out of Minnesota right now, like that whole locals is damn near a competitive team themselves, and so it's been an honor watching them grow, and I am looking forward to my next bout with all of them. I will not be playing a budget deck next time. I have been reignited with a competitive fire, and so I plan on stomping everyone that gets in my way next time. But until next time, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. Tomorrow night, I will be doing 2 more interviews. So pay attention to the Facebook page. I will be dropping some information on there. Give you guys a heads up on what time we're starting there. I want to say it's probably going to be around 7:30 EST on the one, and potentially after 8:30, 9 o'clock on the other. So make sure you are following our channel here on Twitch. We will be doing a lot more on here now. Like I said, the fire's been relit. And then also subscribe. If you are interested in being a part of our private Discord, big shout out to Jalen. He's our altruistic member. He's always dropping in and dropping gifts for people. If you got one of those sub gifts and you want to join our private Discord, please shoot me a message and let me know. Anybody that is subscribed to our channel here on Twitch has access to our private Discord. It's where we talk cards, where we talk Force of Will, and that's where we hang out. So that's something you're interested in, please consider it. All right, but please head over to Jeremy Franklin's YouTube channel. He is currently doing his Monday night live stream, and it's the longest running live stream available on the market for all things Force of Will, and they are talking about the same tournament that we were talking about, but with an overall perspective, not just Rogues Guild. So thank you again for coming out, and we will see you guys next time. GG.